Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lilu Nishmasi Mimorosi Ruspas Mordechai. Erev Shabbos Kodesh here in Eretz Yisrael. Thank you for sticking around. A few of you, we had a little bit of an emergency, pushed off the share by an hour, so you should go for sticking around. So we'll get right into it. Maybe one email. Zeav. Dear Belly, I live in Montreal, Canada. I've been following your daily daf for over 2 years. I want to thank you for starting my day each morning with energy and focus. Before this, I occasionally learned Gemara when I had a chance. But now the day begins with Yeshir. Over 30 years ago, my brother-in-law, Moshe Esther from Atlanta, and Talmud from Ner Yisrael bought me a shas, and was not sure when I would start learning. Baruch Hashem, His chus, and your help, I'm learning each day the daf. It's amazing what learning in front of our kids can do. Oh, I think I forgot to put his picture on. Oh, yeah, that's not good. So maybe Yosef will do that. Here's my youngest child, Shimon. Wakes up each morning with your good morning. He's gotten really good at it. The good morning, Rabbi Isai, has become our daily fun ritual. Thank you. Good Shabbos, Udi Goslin.
Good morning, Rabbi Isai.
And today, the Koilo, sponsored by Anonymous from Lakewood, Shalema Esther Baz Refuah Shlema. The Masechta is sponsored by Moshe Banda. Thank Hashem that I'm able to thank him for everything that I have. Parnassa chodesh Leah Shmas bas Yosef. Parnassa chodesh Leah Shmas Zechrya ben Moshe. Parnassa chodesh Bracha ad Billyack in all my endeavors. Baruch Tzvi Nissim ben Shoshana Leah. Parnassa chodesh Dr. Avrum Epstein in memory of the third yahrzeit of his beloved Raiza Gitl bas Zeav. Parnassa chodesh Mordechai ben Esther for complete Refuah Shlema bekaroi. Parnassa shavua Ari Stawis Refuah Shlema for Leah bas Gitel and segulah for continuing parnassa, and the art of the month for complete refuah for Tzvi ben Leah Rabbi Sai. Here we go. We are in Daf Gimel Amud Beis. Toner Rabbanon. So, if you recall, yesterday we had two possibilities. We're talking about if a person says me'achshav imati, I'm giving you a get from now. If he dies, and when he dies, retroactively he goes back and it's a get. And then the Gemara said that the machlokes with Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yosi is in the second case. Me'is shani ba'olam. Very similar but different. It's that the get should be chal one moment before the person dies. So every moment. Now, a moment later, we know that there was no divorce, and therefore she's a shesish. Or no, do we look at it as, and we say that there's a suffix, a continuous suffix here, yesh breira, ein breira, ton rabban. So when a person says the second thing, me'es shani ba'olam, one moment before the guy passes from this world, the get should be chal, what happens in between? Says the Gemara, ba'alo zakibim tziyasa. If she finds a matziyah, he could get the matziyah. Why? Because it's not as severe as having relations. That could be a different problem with the ishasish or whatever. Over here, now I know a moment later he wasn't dead. She found it yesterday, so he gets to keep the matziyah. She earns money. He gets to keep that. First, the real, he's still a husband. Basically, he's a husband for everything, including taking away her nedarim, the yarsha, and he inherits her metamala. If he's a kohen, so kohen can be metamala to his wife. And we say, well, this moment, she might not be your wife. But he goes ahead and he's metama. And what's very interesting is that, if you notice,
it doesn't mention Peros.
Peros, okay, another type of Ma'aseh Yadayim is fine. There was a Ma'aseh Shahaya, and I'm sure you know a lot of these stories, especially you, Gerald, in the real estate business. A guy decided to do, I forgot what it's called, a reverse mortgage, I think it is. Basically, he went to a very elderly lady, not so very elderly. Maybe let's say she was 70 years old. And he was 40. So he figured he's going to do a nice shtick. He said, I'm offering you every month, she had a nice house worth $1 million. Here's a $1,500 a month. And what happened was, eventually, he ended up dying before her. She lived till 100, and he died. He thought his entire life he's paying and paying and paying, hoping to get a hold of this house. Meanwhile, she's she's just benefiting. He never got the house, and she got everything. Over here, no, just reminded me because he says, okay, he's so sure he's gonna die. He has a mach, he's about to die. So he says, okay, this is your get. It turns out she died before him. Okay. And he happens to be a kohen, so he could be metama to her. This is the rule. The bottom line is, since the get is only chal 1 moment before he dies, so she's his wife for everything. The review says you don't have to get another get. So if you look at Rashi all the way on the top of Ayin Gimel and Aleph, so Rashi says V'abala b'meizid b'chenek v'shoygi b'chadas v'avagav the meiz moise chayli v'shloi girsha el samach l'misa. So review is of the opinion that since the get is only chal 1 moment before death, so therefore if she has a relationship with somebody else, she's chayav b'chatas or misa even. Rabbi Meir Oimer. Now we're going to have 3 shittas that are very, very similar. So you have to understand that Remeir here holds that when somebody says this lashon, he says the same thing as the lashon right above, the lashon of ma'achshav meisi. In other words, it goes retroactive. That's how Remeir holds. That when you say me'eshani ba'ilam, it goes retroactive to the time that he gave her the get. So therefore, bi'ilasa tluya. Rabbi Yossi Omer. So we have to see, did he live, did he not live, and therefore we'll see in exactly what's going on here. Rabbi Yossi Omer, no, we're still going with me'es shani, that it's the second thing, that it's from the moment before. Bilasa safek. So what's the difference between bilasa tluya, bilasa safek? So according to Rabbi Yossi, since he said me'es shani, so if he dies from this disease, he's dead. He died from this disease. So now it becomes clear that she was divorced and she wasn't an Eishes Ish. So at the end of the day, Rabbi Yosef says you have to bring the Asham Tali because it wasn't so clear at the time. But if he didn't die from that machla, so she's an Eishes Ish. She would be chayav chatos. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef Bilasa Safik. Another very similar lashon. Mugureshas vein mugureshas. So it seems like 3 sfeikas here. Ubavachi yamos. He must die from the first original disease that he thought he's going to die from. Okay. Says the Gemara, Ma'iki ben Rabbi Yosef. What's the difference between the 2 first ones? Rabbi Yosef. Or Rabbi Yochanan, Ashim Tali Ike benayu. So according to Rabbi that says Bilasat Luya, we go backwards. You don't bring Ashim Tali. Meir, what's Ashim Tali? So, if a person does an Aveira by mistake, so he brings a Chatas. What if he's not sure if it was an Aveira or not Aveira? So he brings, it's the same kind of thing as a Chatas, just he doesn't know. It's a Ashim Tali. It's hanging. He doesn't know exactly what he has to do. So, Rabbi Yossi Maisa Ashim Tali, according to Rabbi Yossi, there's a suffix here, a real suffix. Why? Because he said it's from the moment before he dies. So at any given moment, that could have been the moment. So at that time, we didn't know. And aim brera, you don't go back and you say retroactively, I understand that he's not dead now. It wasn't the moment before. But at that time, when he was over the Isser with the Eishes Ish, when he was with the Eishes Ish, he had a suffix. So for that suffix, he has to bring Asham Tali. Says Gemara, isn't that the same thing? Suffix, when you say suffix, it's the same thing as Mugureshes, Vein Mugureshes. Divorced, not divorced. No, there is one difference. This lashon, divorced, not divorced, since she can't get married to anybody else at this point, so her husband is chayiv to feed her. Now, what's very interesting is that Rashi asks a Bam Kasha. You don't have to go very far to see Rashi's Kasha. If you just look at Ayin Gimel Amud Beis, the top line, very easy to find. It says, Rabbi Yossi Omer, read, Mugureshes ve'ena Mugureshes. Rabbi Yossi says this is the exact same lashon as Chacham say, Mugureshes ve'ena Mugureshes. So what's the nafkamina between Rabbi Yossi and Chacham? Rashi has the Kasha. It's a Bam Kasha. He says, I'm forced to say that there was two Tanaim that explain Rabbi Yosef, two different Lashonos in Rabbi Yosef. Okay. Says the Mishnah, Raiza Gitl. A person says, I heard of a lot of these stories, unfortunately. Younger guys, maybe married to wealthier girls, come from wealthier families. They say, I'm a bad guy. You want me to get divorced? Great. Drop $1 million in my account and we'll talk. Yeah? I've heard of these stories. Oh, yeah, the Gemara says, he tells her, you want a divorce? I don't want to divorce you. You want a divorce? Pay me. It's a condition. Gerald, what are you smiling about? You know about these things? You're saying you wish. Now you think, oh, that's a great idea. Wow. It works. And she has to, it's like a condition. If the husband says this is your get, you have to do 400 jumping jacks. You do 400 jumping jacks, it's a get. He says, here's your get, give me $400. You get $400. He puts a limit on it within 30 days. What's the big chiddush? The Gemara will talk about it. Obviously, she has to do it within 30 days. Then if she doesn't complete the condition, then she's not divorced. Now the Gemara is also going to talk about this because usually when the Mishnah brings a story, it comes to argue or corroborate something. This story has almost nothing to do with anything. But this is a very famous story because if you're familiar with the term, the halacha is like Rav Shimon Gamliel, ba'arev, tzidon, v'rayach roino. This is tzidon. This is the famous tzidon right here. This is a story. The halacha is like Rav Shimon Gamliel everywhere besides over here. And two other places. What's the story in Tzidon? I'll divorce you on condition you give me the frock, give me my suit. Give me a suit. Give me a nice coat. Today you can understand. I don't know, maybe you don't understand this, but I have children that want these. I forgot what they're called already. They cost like $2,000, $4,000. It's the same coat, but it has like a stempel on top of some company. I want a coat. You want to get I want a coat. Now, it's his coat. It's the lisi, my coat. You borrowed it, you give it back. It's lisoi, and it got lost. So this is actually machlokes we're going to see in the Gemara. When he makes a condition on a certain item, on condition, you give me this particular item right here, and this item got lost. Could you substitute it for cash? Did he mean I want the value, or maybe this means a lot to him? Says Gemara, so we have a big machlokes here. When he makes a condition, he says, you're divorced, on condition you give me $100. When is she divorced? When he gave her the divorce, or when she gave him the $100? It's a big nafkamina. It could be 2 months apart. So Rav Huna says, v'hititain, that it's a get immediately, and she has to fulfill the condition. Rabbi Yehuda Amar likishetitein. The get is only chal when and if she ever pays up. My benayu. So what's the difference? Lamaisa. Where does it come into nafkamina? If he tore up the get, if the get got torn up or got lost, Ravuna says she's divorced, just fill the agreement, so she pays the $100 and she's divorced, even though right now there's no get. Why? Because she's divorced yesterday, not today. You don't need a get anymore. And you don't need another get. Rav Yehuda Amar likishetite. When, in other words, since right now the get is torn, it's lost, so she can't get divorced until he gives her another get. With Nami, says the Gemara, this exact halacha we say Nami Gabi Kedushin. We say the same halacha by Kedushin. Kagav, no, the same exact way. It's not. I want to get married to you on condition that I give you 200 zuz. He might be pushing himself to do something to show that he's serious. So the kedushin is chal v'yitin, and he should give the 200. So now we have the exact same machlokes. Rav Huna Amar, there's a lot of redundancy today, not the whole day, but in this sugya we'll see like some things you'd think, okay, maybe we don't have to say them. So we have some freebies here. Rav Huna Amar v'yitin, she's engaged. he just has to fulfill his condition and give her the 200. Rav Yehuda Amar Likashite, do not engage it until he fulfills the condition. What's the difference? When and if she accepts Kiddushin from another man, so according to Rav Huna, she's already engaged to the first guy. He just has to fulfill the condition. Oh, why is he going to fulfill the condition? As soon as he hears that she accepted the condition from somebody else, he's going to run over to her house and give her the 200. And then she'll be engaged to the first one. The second one is a joke. According to Rav Yehuda, they only become engaged when he fulfills his condition. The second guy jumped in as Mekadosh. Mamish like the Gemara, Shemiach Lefena Acher. Or like the famous Maisa. This is the most famous Maisa probably, but it's kedai to say it once every 2-3 years, where the guy in Shul on Shabbos, Rachman al says, I have a car for sale. You interested? In the Shabbos Geret. Because he held that if you say in the Shabbos Geret, it's motor. So the guy said, Nish Shabbos Geret, how much do you want? In the Shabbos Geret, I want $3,000. He said, in the Shabbos Geret, let me think about it. And he came back to him 10 minutes later, and he says, no, okay, I want to do the deal. In the Shabbos Geret. He says, in the Shabbos Geret, I already sold it. So why did I say it's dumb? It's not mamish negia. But sometimes the covered Shabbos. No, to shtach those guys, the Shabbos Geret guys. They say, since it's a joke, so mustama, there's some emes to it. So mustama, you could say in the Shabbos Geret and it works. Okay, zog the Gemara. Rav Huna Amar Vuite Tnai Ba'almahu Mekayim Tnai Ba'azil. The same achlek that we did before. Rav Huna says all he has to do is be Mekayim is Tnai, give the 200, and that's it. And she's engaged to the first one. Rav Yehuda Amar like Gitin Chayav L'Chayav to have a Kiddushin. When he gives the 200, then it becomes Kiddushin. Hash have a Kiddushin. Says the Gemara Tzvi. So why do I need a case by Kiddushin? Why do I need a case by Gittin? So the first part, okay, we need the Tzvi. The second part is Mamish a freebie. Utzricha di Yashmin Gabi Kiddushin Baal Kamar Avhuna Vuide Mishum de Karuva Kaasi. Is kavana when a person wants to get engaged. Most guys that want to get engaged, they want to get engaged right now. They don't want to wait around. So why did he promise her money? Stop to make sure that he gets the job done. The Karuva Kaasi. He wants it right now, me'achshav, from this moment. That's his kavana. He said, "Okay, I'm going to make a deal with you. I'm also going to give you more money, but he wants to get engaged now." When it comes to Gittin, so Rashi says, you can look in Rashi here. It's very interesting. Rashi. He says, Rashi, most people very reluctantly are they megarish their wife. They don't really want to divorce her. Hilkach. So his kavanah wasn't, I want to divorce you right now. His kavanah was, when and if it happens, then you're divorced. And he says, if I seen a lot. He's hoping that they could go to counseling and they could work things out. That's his kavanah. So I have to throw this in because we're still in, right after Tisha B'Av, still part of the Churban. But some English is still burning now. I heard a beautiful thing on Tisha B'Av. Everybody always asks the question, what does it mean, sinas chinam? The Beis Hamikdash was destroyed because, how do you say chinam? For no reason, hatred for no reason. Baseless, thank you. Baseless hatred. What does that mean, baseless? Every single time you hate somebody, there's a reason. He stepped on my foot, he stole my parking spot, he looked at me the wrong way. There's a reason. So, he said, Pshat, no. Because most of the time there's a fight is because you didn't look into it. You didn't call the guy up and ask, why did you ignore me today? Maybe had you seen, maybe if you would have looked into it, maybe you would have found out a piece of information that you're missing and you wouldn't hate the guy that much. A lot of times you just assume certain things and based on those assumptions, you hate that person and that's why it's baseless. So I just want to stick in this maisa, and it has something to do with divorce because a lot of times you get upset at your spouse, and had you known certain information, you wouldn't be upset. I know people don't get divorced because of one thing, but there's a maisa shahaya they say, and I said this story, but it's kedai also chazar. a guy's son was in a very, very bad car accident, and they found out that there's only one surgeon. I guess this was in Israel. They found out there's one surgeon that could do this surgery, and they called him. They made him a sugar, and he wasn't picking up the phone. And finally, he did pick up. He says, "Okay, whatever." And this kid is dying away. Literally, he's between life and death, and the surgeon is not showing up, and the family's frantic. And finally, the surgeon shows up, and the father runs over to him and says, "Aren't you embarrassing yourself? This is how you're treating a kid. How would you like it if this happened to your child?" The whole thing. The surgeon doesn't answer, nothing. Keeps on going. And the nurses come over to him and say, "What's going on?" Just keeps on walking. He does the surgery. Instead of going and speaking to the family, it went very well, the whole thing. He leaves the hospital, runs away. So everybody's furious, fuming, etc. What happened was that this surgeon's son was in another car accident that day and died. And the surgeon came from the funeral to do the surgery. But meanwhile, everybody's upset at him, and everybody's yelling, and everybody's screaming. He managed a chesed, Shalema, he came. In other words, if you have the information, sometimes you're not upset. Zog Gemara. If I said it only by Gerushin, not by Kiddushin, I would say, okay, you know what? Since they're in a big fight, so the husband has no problem going and demanding that she pay up the chayv and be mekayim that not. But if a person gets married to his wife, doesn't want to sue her, he's going to start bothering her to pay him. So I'll be whatever. We'll turn a blind eye. That is not good. And now the Gemara says the whole thing in reverse, the same exact thing. Over here, there's a reason for Rabbi to say that you have to wait until you give the money. Why? Because he doesn't want to sue her. Maybe Rav Yehuda Dmitri Rav Huna. He's trying to get rid of her. And Mother Rav Huna that he meant he wants to get engaged right away. Tzricha. Okay, that's why I need both cases, Gerushin and Kiddushin, which basically are the same. Basic. Raiza Gitl. This is your get on condition that you give me 200 zuz. Here's a big cash on review the why. It says, get. Oh, that's literally what we were speaking about. In a case, because the Gemara said, what's the nafkamina between the two shitas? If the get gets rid. You hear this? According to review, we have a big problem. According to review, you need a get. You have to fulfill the condition, then you have a get. If the get disappears before the condition was fulfilled, then it's not a get. So over here in this case, where the get was ripped and destroyed or lost, according to Rabbi Yehuda, she shouldn't be divorced. Why does it say that she's divorced? It's a big kasha on Rabbi Yehuda. She can't get married. Another problem we have. This is your get on condition that you give me 200 zuz, and then he died. Nasnam. All right. If she fulfilled her condition, so she's divorced and she doesn't fall evil. If she didn't fulfill the condition, then she was not divorced. She's not divorced, she's still married, then she falls to her brother-in-law. Now listen to this unbelievable chiddush. I don't think anybody thought about this one. You hear this? If she didn't fulfill the condition, she could still fulfill it by giving it to a relative. It's like a get lachar misa. No. She fulfilled the condition after death, but the get was chal the day he gave it to her. It's not lachar misa. This is like the furthest of lachar misa that we know of. Usually it's like, okay, the condition is that the guy has to die. Over here, the condition is that after he dies, she's going to pay somebody money. But when was a chal? Way before he died, according to Rishim Gamli. Rishim Gamli, she could fulfill the condition of giving the 200, not to the husband, but to give it to the husband's father, or leach of his brother, leich of an akrayim. The Gemara says, but this is a bomb kasha on review. Why? The whole machlokes is, could you fulfill a condition by giving it to somebody that inherited the husband? You could. But everybody agrees that it's retroactive, that the get is chal at the day that he gave the get. This is a bomb kasha on Rav Yehuda. So one of the ways to get out of a bomb question is to say, listen, you're right. All this adds up against me. But since it's a machlokes tanoim, Rav Yehuda, I'm an Amoira, I'm going to go with another Tan. And here is the... Oh, I forgot to show this. Okay, show it now. The only piece of art from today. That's it. It's not even for learning purposes. Stop for amusement only. I could have used this for yesterday. I was talking about first class. This is literally the type of people I was thinking about, with that dress, the long tznius dress, and the hat, and this, the first class people. Okay, so this is a yahrzeit in Shas, or it's actually a machlokes. In other words, when a person says on condition, do you mean this moment it's going to happen? It's going to take effect right now. Just you have to fulfill the condition later on. So Rebbe's of the opinion, okay, but still you saw it in Shas. One, if you say those words on condition, it's as if you said it should start right now. However, says Rabbi Yehuda, what do you want from me? I'm going like the majority. It's even better. I go like Rabbanan who argue on Rebbe. In a second, I'm going to see that maybe nobody argues. So says Rabbi Zera, when I was in Bavel, when we were in Bavel, we used to say, that's what Rabbi Yehuda said, right? But when I went there to Yisrael, Yosef argues, there's no machlokes at all. Everybody agrees that if you say almanas, it starts right now. So Rav Yehuda, according to this, is going to be in a big problem. Okay, the Gemara doesn't address that really, but according to Rabbi Yochanan, there is no machlokes. Before Rav Yehuda said there is machlokes in it, then I go with one side. Now Rabbi Yochanan says there's no machlokes. So remember the case where a guy sort of contradicts himself. He says it should start today and after death. So when he says and after death, does he mean, did he retract the mahayim? Forget about the word mahayim, and he's saying it should happen after death, or he's just explaining it should start now and end later. So loy nechlaku, so there's machlokes in that exact lashon. Hayom ula achar misa. Da find out Amud Beis. Watanya, and we bring you a Raiza, says Rashi bin Chusa, Hayom ula achar misa get bein and get divrei chacham. We have machlokes. You see, much like Rebbe said, the machlokes is only in one case, because if it was in the other case, it should have said the machlokes is in the first case. No, but when a person makes a t'nai, koloimer ma'achshav almanas koimer ma'achshav domi. If a person says almanas, then l'chayra everybody agrees. Why? Because the whole machlokes, as you see, is this case. This very hard case. It seems like a contradiction. So we have machlokes. Mayoy melachamisa get v'eneget. Divrei chacham. Rabbi Yomer kazeh get. Okay, so that's the machlokes in this exact case. When a person contradicts himself, he says mayoy, and then he says lachamisa. Rabbi says no. It's a good get. You know why? Because mayoy means it should start now. It should and lachamisa it should work retroactively. But according to Rav Yehuda, no, there's machlokes in both cases, even in the simple case of ba'almanas. So how come the Bracha doesn't say that's the machlokes? Because we want to. It's very interesting. Since we're mincing on words, every word counts. We're only going to pick one of the two machlokes. Which machlokes should we pick? Let's pick the machlokes of Mahayim Lachar Misa. It's a tremendous chiddush to say that when a guy seems to contradict himself, he starts off saying the get should be today, and then a second later he says the get should be after he dies. It's a contradiction. Even in that case, Rebbe says it's a good get. No, to show how powerful Rebbe holds. Rebbe is very, very strongly opinionated about what he says. Says Gemara of no, maybe fakir. Say the machlokes is in a simple case when a person says almanas, and even in that case, Chacham say it's not ma'achshav. So the Gemara, no, it's much better to say the machlokes is in the case of Ayom Lachar Misa to tell me how lenient Rebbe is. To be lenient is much harder to them being machmer. Any Rav could be machmer and say, oh yeah, the halacha is don't eat on Tisha B'Av. When you come to the Rav and the Rav says you could eat on Tisha B'Av, that shows that you know what's going on, you know the halachas, and you're not afraid to pass it. Says in the Mishnah we said, Al Menashe didn't leave me combat shleishim. If a person made a condition, this is your get, on condition that you give me X amount of money within 30 days, so she should give within 30 days. Pshita. Of course, it's not going to be a get if she gives it after 50 days. Mao the seima kpeda lav kpeda. Maybe he wasn't so. I'll give you an example. If you live in Eretz Yisrael, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When a person writes in his invitation Eretz Yisrael 6:30 exactly, it means not before 7:30. Nobody in the right, every single chassan you go to, if you show up, let's say an hour from within what it says in the invitation, you'll see an empty hall. Not a single table set, not a single waiter even shows up. I know people, yakis, that come there, they think it says 6:30, 6 exact. They show up at 6:30. You'll think you're in the wrong hall. Okay, that. So why do they write 6:30? It's a minhag. That's how it is by most people. I think at least by the Ashkenazim. I don't know how it works with the Sephardim. I'm assuming it's the same thing. Lazar Zakasi is just another thing. This was to me a big chiddush. I don't know what would you say if a girl is in shidduchim and she's 26 years old, and all her friends that are 26 years old, they say to the shadchan they're 24 years old. Yeah, I guess it's a ma'aseh shebachol yom. Unfortunately, 28-year-olds say to 26. You have to fump a little bit. Mutter aser. You go and you ask Rabbi Yankiv Kamenetsky, Emes Liyakov. That's the name of a sefer, right? Emes Liyakov. Emes. What would Rabbi Yankiv Kamenetsky tell you to do? Huh? Lie a little bit. That's what the minhag is. The minhag is to lie. I don't know for sure. I heard that Rabbi Yankiv Kamenetsky told somebody to say what everybody says. If you call a 26-year-old, a 24-year-old, because the father said, listen, if I say the truth, then they'll say that she's 28. If you say that she's 26, people say, 26 means 28. So you have to say the date. Anyway, fine. It's minyan lein by se'inyan. Like I'm talking about the time. Say 6:30, but you mean 7:30. 24, you mean 26? Okay. There's a certain minhag of people in certain places. When I was a caterer, there's always a certain type of people, like the elderly. The chuppah is called. They show up at 5 minutes before the time, and they hack you chaynik. They want the food right away. Where's the shmor? Where's this? Certain people, yeah. Oh, sorry. Let's just repeat that. He doesn't really mean 30 days. Zakasi. He gave her like a time limit. Within 30 days. If you don't tell me within 30 days, it happens all the time. Like, I want this real estate deal. If you don't answer me within 12 hours, of course you want the deal, even after 12 hours. You're trying to get the guy to get him going. Fine. Kamash Malon, no, he was very serious about his time. 30 days is 30 days. After 30 days, nothing. Tzidon, call it any way you want. My Tana Diktani Mais. What exactly happened in the Mishnah that we threw in a story? So the Gemara says, of course, Chasur Mechsur of Achtani. What the Mishnah meant to say is, it's the Lisi. What happens if he said, I want my coat, and the coat got lost, it's the Lisi Davka Kamalo. So the Tanakama actually argues. And he says, when a person says, I want this coat, he means I want this coat. This is a coat he inherited from his grandmother, from his grandfather. It means a lot to him. He doesn't want the $25 cash. He wants the coat. No, she could replace it with money. And that's why he said there's a story in Tzidon. And he brings a riot to his pshita that where somebody said, I want my coat. And it got lost. And Chacham said she could substitute with money. Rabasi asked Raiza Gitl until Yishver gives me 200 zuz. B'chazo amar lo mechulim loch ma'u. Yeah, the bacher comes to yeshiva. Also, Ma'aser Shaya. The guy comes to yeshiva for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. He asks the mishgiach, could I come? Mishgiach says $100. $100, yeah, $100. Fine. Listen, it costs food and the bed and $100. So after Yom Kippur, the bacher came to pay up. So the mishgiach said, no, I just wanted to make sure that you're really serious about it. You're taking it. You're not just gonna take somebody's seat and come back. You're in it. You're in it. That's fine. Then it doesn't cost money. So, Raiza Gitl, I'm not sitting in the Moshe Banda, and I'm making a condition. You really want this get? I have to make sure you're really into this get. You really, really want it? Give me 200. And you see, she comes with the money. Okay, your mom is serious, fine. I don't need your money. You could have a get. Now here's the big shiloh. It's a beautiful shiloh. This is how I'm learning Rashi. I hope this is the pshat. It says, I can read Rashi for you, and then you'll tell me if this is a pshat. It says, Mao, mihavi hach mechilo kim tnai kilu nasanalai. So Rashi says, Mefurish, do we consider it as if he received it? In other words, a person doesn't have a right to be moichel atnai, Rashi is saying. If he makes a condition with the get, you can't retract that condition. You have to be mekayim the condition. So one thing you could do is, she could give him the money, and he could give it right back to her. Or he could just tell her, I don't need the money. It's as if, says Rashi, ki'ilu nisanaloi. Rashi doesn't say, he's mevater on the tnai. That's not what he says. No, it's not a pesha asar. It's a pesha sha'asar, and they were mekayim the isser, and they went through the isser. Just there wasn't any physical thing happening. In other words, I don't want to mess everybody up. I don't think anybody understood what I just said. Okay, the bottom line is, if a person makes a condition, you have to keep the condition. Just when it comes to money, I could be moichel you, and it says if you did the condition, and therefore the get should be a good get, or not. That's mamish what the Gemara is saying here. Or perhaps that doesn't work. She has to give him the money, and if she doesn't give him the money, not. The boiler Rabbanon, what do Rabbanon say? Rabbanon say that if there's a coat, he says, I want a coat, you cannot substitute the coat for cash. I still have a question. He wasn't moichler. He said, I want a coat. She shows up with a bag of money, but he never said, I'm moichel you. Who says you could substitute money for a coat? I said, I want a coat. But over here, he said, I'm moichel you. It's as if he got the money. You can't say over there it's as if he got the coat, because he didn't get the coat, he got money. And he didn't say, I'm okay with it. Maybe Reb Shimon Gamliel holds again. He holds that if somebody says, I want a coat, you could substitute it for cash, because he got a coat in cash. He got something. At the end of the day, he received his t'nai. Just it wasn't the exact coat, it was the money, the value of it. But he got a physical thing. But just to be moichel with your mind, with your mouth, that's not enough. So we have a question according to both shittas. No, it's not a divorce. You have to receive the t'nai. You have to get a t'nai. If you make a t'nai, you have to make sure that t'nai. If the t'nai was do 10 jumping jacks, and she didn't do 10 jumping jacks, he can't tell her, I'm moichel you the 10 jumping jacks. That doesn't work. So we're going to say, I'm going to pretend as if you did the 10 jumping. That doesn't work either. Money, you could say, I could take the money and give it right back to you. So Mela, I'm just going to save you that whole hassle, and I'm moichel you. But the Gemara says at the end of the day, no, it doesn't work. You have to receive the money in your hand. Person tells his friend, I have nothing to do with you. You're not going to be able to benefit anything from me. His son is getting married. He goes over to the wealthy guy. What do you need so much money for? I want you to give XYZ to my son for the chasana. If not, I have nothing to do with you. Shoshana. Okay? But that's what he did. There are people like that. Rebbe says he can't benefit from him until he physically gives. So we know what Atar Sandarim is. This is Atar Sandarim. A guy goes to the Chachamim. So he says, listen, you don't even have to go to a Chacham. You could just say, you can go to a Chacham and be mataneder. You don't even have to go to a Chacham. Anybody could just say to the guy, he said, listen, I don't know what I was thinking. I was overwhelmed with the whole wedding. So I decided to take advantage of you and force you to give my son some money for the chasana. But I really feel bad about what I did. And I'm moichel you. Okay. And now you could have to do with him. So is that a good raya or not? Is that a question on what we just said? It says Gemara you have to be goyers hacha. It says on the side hacha. In other words, bayas, he says to his wife, soon to be his ex, you want to get a divorce? Give me 200. So he's trying to pain her. It didn't come to fruition. So Mela, it's not a get. But over here he's trying to gain, and at the end he decided he doesn't need it. In other words, it goes like this. If a person says, on this chart over here, koinem al minas, that you give me money. I put you in chayrim, in a nidui, on condition that you give me money. He's trying to benefit. He's trying to squeeze the guy. So for that, you can be moichel. Squeezing to benefit, I can be moichel because I'll just pretend I got the benefit and then I'm moichel. But tsar, you can't pretend you got the tsar. There's no such thing. So therefore, once you put a condition that I want to pain you, I want you to do 10 jumping jacks, I want you to pay me money, not because I want to benefit, but I want it to come out of your wallet, I want to see you suffer, then I can't be moichel that suffering. That doesn't work. I can't just be moichel at tonight. There was a Maisa Shahaya with Reb Steinman. A guy went on a huge campaign against Reb Steinman, and he got married and didn't have children. So he decided, I better ask Reb Steinman Mechila. Maybe it's because of that. So he went. I saw with my own eyes. I saw people when Reb Steinman was nifter. They were screaming. They were all happy in the streets in certain neighborhoods. In fact, they put out crazy signs. People like to do funny things. So this guy goes to Reb Steinman and he says, I want to ask Rashivi Mechila. He says, for what? Tells him, I went on a whole campaign against you. I put up Pashkevilim, all that. So he says, no, you did me a big favor. Of course, I'm Mechila. You don't have to ask Mechila. It says in the Sefer that you only get Kapar Savainas from big Bizyonas, and Baruch Hashem, you gave me the Bizyonas I need, and I'm Mechila. If I have to be Mechila, I'm Mechila B'leiv Shalom, no problem. Sends the guy out. And he says, whoa, come back. He says, that's good, whatever for me, but please don't do these favors for other people. Hacha. He's trying to be mitzar. He's trying to be mitzar. Going on campaigns, be mitzar. People need such tsar. I'm doing her a favor. She needs to get a mechila for Mamas. Great. Says Gemara, let me ask you here, think about this question. I think it's unbelievable shayla. Think about this for a second. You hire a gardener to do certain things in your garden. One of them is to water the garden. Okay, you told him if you water the garden every week, 4 times a month, I'll pay you $100. Then comes rain, and he didn't have to water the garden. Do you have to pay the gardener or not? Is it the gardener can say, listen, it's my luck, Hashem helped me, he watered it for me? The guy says, no, I hired you to do a certain job. You didn't do it. You didn't have to do it, so I don't want to pay you. Over there, it's a little different. What? That there was no snow.
You pay for the winter, right? And what happens? There's no snow.
But that's the opposite. That's Sheva Taisa. Over there, Sheva Taisa, like it. He was paid to take action, and the action happened mishamayim. Over there, you're saying the opposite. And also, in snow is different because people understand how it works. Anyway, so here's the question. The Gemara talks about this. He tells his sharecropper, everybody in the neighborhood, they water the fields 3 times a month. And because of that, they eat 25%, they get 25% profit. Rashi sticks in there, it includes also plowing and seeding it, the whole thing, everything. I want you to do a little extra. I want you to water it 4 times. V'chol tilta. For that, instead of getting 25%, you get 30%, 33%. L'soy v'asa mitra. So the Gemara rained. What should we do? Omar Rav Yosef, halei dala. Machlois Rav Yosef and Rabba. He says, listen, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. Yes, you're right. He couldn't do it because Hashem already did it for him. But he didn't water the field. Didn't water the field, you don't get paid. Rabba Omar, halei tzricha. He wanted to. He just didn't have to. So anytime there's machlokes Rabbi and Rav Yosef, who's the halacha like? We thought like that. Hold on. I shouldn't have gone so far. So the halacha is always like Rabbi when there's machlokes Rabbi and Rav Yosef. Besides three things: sada, inyan, and mechza. So let's go back over here. Okay. Fine. So says the Gemara, Leimo Rav Yosef Kirabanon. Okay, here, I'll show you this. Rav Yosef, who says the Aris doesn't get any extra money. Hashem made it rain, he doesn't get paid for that rain. Rabbanan say that if I give you money instead of a coat, it doesn't work. So the Gemara says maybe they both add up to each other. Rab is of the opinion that the Aris gets extra. I could exchange it or whatever. I could use the rain from Shemayim, and over here I'll change it for money instead of a coat. Says the Gemara. Says Gemara, but this is a big problem. Why? You tell me the two reds line up, the two blues line up. Rabba lines up with Rishon Gamliel, Rav Yosef lines up with Rabbanan. But that's a big problem. Why? What kind of language is going to say the Rabba? Ubaha in halach Rishon Gamliel. The halach is always like Rabba when he argues with the Rav Yosef. So the halach should be like the red box on top right. The problem is that we have another halacha. The halacha is like Rishon Gamliel chutz ma'arv tzida v'rayach roina, and our Mishnah is tzida. So the halacha is not like Reb Shimon Gamliel in our Mishnah. So the problem is that these guys don't add up. The red and the red can't add up because the halacha is not like Reb Shimon Gamliel and the halacha is like Rabbah. So how can you tell me that Rabbah holds like Reb Shimon Gamliel? When you have it in boxes like this, it's great, but the people listening on Kol HaShon have no idea what I just said. Rabbah, the Gemara says, the Gemara wants to say that Rabbah and Reb Shimon Gamliel are saying the same shita. The problem is, the halacha is like Rabbah anytime he argues with the Rav Yosef. So the halacha should be like Rabbah now, that the Ars gets 33% instead of 25%. But the halacha is not like Rav Shimon Gamliel in this case where he substituted a coat, money for a coat. So they can't add up together. So the Gemara, we're going to say that everybody holds like Rabbanan that you cannot substitute money for a coat. Rav Yosef Rabbanan. So okay, Rav Yosef we said adds up with Rabbanan, that's not a shot. Rabba Malach. I will say, I know that Rabbi the Rabbanon. I can also look Rabbanon. I can look at Rabbanon also by the code. But by Aris, he wants to make money. And at the end of the day, he didn't need to come onto it. Let me just see if we should go weiter. Yeah, let's finish over here. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day. Have a great job. Is for coming.